Hello and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. The theme of our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and applying unconditional love. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. Just another reminder, the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Don't take things personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own dream or illusion. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be a victim of needless suffering. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply just do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Tonight we're focusing on the mindfulness of love and healthiness, and we have a local success story on our show. Our special guest this evening is Dr. Neil Kobrin. Dr. Neil Kobrin, PhD, is a licensed clinical psychologist from UC Berkeley and his LCSW and MFT with decades of experience in human transformation and emotional well-being. He is the author of the book Emotional Well-Being, Embracing the Gift of Life, and is the founder and president of the Academy of Mindful Psychology. He is an international workshop leader in mindfulness and emotional health. Shortly thereafter, he assumed the role of president and CEO of California Graduate School of Psychology. Dr. Kobrin rebuilt and rejuvenated the institution, eventually merged the School of American Schools of Psychology and National Set of Graduate Schools of Psychology. Dr. Kobrin actively continues to augment his knowledge of mindfulness and Buddhist psychology. In addition to attending dozens of trainings throughout the U.S., led by foremost leaders in the subject area, he is a member of the Spirit Rock Meditation Center's Sangha and continues to study with world-renowned teachers such as Jack Kornfield and other Teachers Council, as well as distinguished visiting teachers. He has trained and facilitated workshops with Zen Master Genpo Roshi, training facilitators from all over the world in the big mind process. Dr. Kobrin plays an active role in the Academy of Mindful Psychology, an organization designed to provide education and training in mindfulness and psychology. He maintains a private clinical practice in Marin, California. This is the second segment of our 2-part discussion with Neil Kobrin. Yeah, that's beautiful. Being in nature, smelling a flower.
Committing yourself on a daily basis to be as fully present as possible. Waking up in the morning and saying, I am going to pay attention today. I'm going to pay attention to myself. I'm going to pay attention to my body. I'm going to pay attention to the world in a way where I can focus. Because this whole thing about multitasking doesn't work. No. We all do it, but it's just not as effective as if we really pay attention and focus.
Focus. That's just like, focusing on this show, That's all I focus on.
Well, that's great.
I'm always getting new guests, and I'm researching, and I'm reading, and where it's going. That's because I know that's what my passion and my purpose is. And when I start looking outside and it's like, it's not working. No, get back right
Right.
on focus.
Right.
Get back on focus.
Right.
And if people could, and you know what? It takes discipline.
It takes tremendous discipline.
And people aren't, this is what I've tried teaching my child. I have one daughter. Self-discipline.
Right.
Because that's what it takes, is self-discipline.
Right.
Maybe that's, I've often thought I wish I could come up with a better word than discipline, because discipline seems so negative, because you know you're going to get in trouble for this, and that's discipline. But that's
How about commitment?
Well, it is a commitment.
It's a commitment. That's what it is. It's a commitment.
To being healthy, whole.
Well, you talk about healthy. So in mindful psychology, we also introduce health and wellness.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it is amazing. Well, first of all, I mean, not to bore your viewers, we're one of, if not the fattest country in the world.
Oh, especially in the South.
I mean, diabetes too is an epidemic, and it's very, very serious.
Overindulgence.
Because
Addiction.
Diabetes too is linked very, very positively with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And Alzheimer's has become an absolute epidemic.
Well,
I don't know about you. When I was a kid, I actually didn't know a single. I grew up in a neighborhood in Queens, Middle Village. I love Middle Village, where there were octogenarians all over the place. I didn't know a single 80-year-old that had dementia. Now you show me a family that has not been touched by Alzheimer's or dementia.
My grandmother had, I know, Alzheimer's. I mean, no, dementia. It wasn't quite, but I think it was because she lost her husband. She wasn't
Depression,
reading.
absolutely.
Depression, there
That's
was
right.
a lot, she used to walk, she ate right, but, she wasn't.
Well, but it's funny. She ate right. So part of this mindful psychology is health and wellness.
Yes.
It's learning really what we need to be eating, but it's not just eating, and it's not just exercising. How about sleeping?
Oh my goodness, that's a big one.
Big one.
We need to sleep.
I mean, we have a
Healthy
country
sleep.
that doesn't sleep.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's neurotic.
It's absolutely neurotic. You know what happens when we sleep?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Oh
How
my
about
gosh.
something called myelination? Myelination simply means that the way our system is built to transmit information is through these lines that myelin carries the information, the electrical and chemical impulses that goes from one spot to the other spot in your brain and throughout your system. Well, myelination takes place during sleep. Lack of myelination slows everything down. We have learning deficits. We have cognitive deficits. Not to mention, how does it affect us emotionally?
Yeah, right, exactly. Physically, I mean, all of it. And that's why I love because I focused on sleeping, when I have wonderful dreams and I can wake up and I can write them down. That's what I do. I use my
Absolutely.
dreams as messages.
How interesting that when we have a 2-year-old who acts out, what do we say? I didn't have his nap today. Right? And we accept that.
Yeah.
Do we say it with a 40-year-old? Never. What changed? Nothing.
Nothing, yes. Because we all still have that little child inside
Well,
every
we
one of
also
us.
still need 7 or 8 hours
Yeah,
worth of
absolutely.
sleep.
Yeah, I remember I used to go
right.
on 5.5. I was like, this is crazy. When I finally got educated myself enough, so I between 7 and 8, for sure. And when I can get 8, wow.
And what about dehydration?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Water,
All right.
water, and more.
General rule, drink half your body weight in ounces of water a day. So what I've tried to do with mindful psychology is really to integrate all of these areas, right? Traditional psychology and Eastern psychology, mindfulness, neuroscience, health and wellness, and of course, consciousness and spirituality. I love to say it, I'm not the originator of this. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
And that could so impact the way you live this precious life of ours, this miracle.
I know, and it is a miracle.
Absolutely.
I have to say that from my whole being, because I was an RH baby. So as soon as, do you know what an RH
No,
baby
tell
is?
me.
And they have an anti-serum the year I was born, which is, thank God. But when your father's positive and your mother's negative RH factor, after the second baby, I'm the third, the blood, as soon as the cord's cut, the blood goes bad. So I basically was dying. My blood was dying when they took her away from me. So I had to have a blood transfusion. So I guess maybe that's why I can do what I do. And I've been through so many challenges because I've already
That's fantastic.
gone through that. And I honor life and human beings, you know, because I've already been through that death experience, even at birth. I mean, it's taken me years to get to really fully integrate it and understand it. But
see, it's so interesting, Cheryl, because
we're all miracles.
For me, it's very similar. And that is, I shouldn't even be here. I don't know how it was that I was born. You know, my story, I'm also the youngest, the third, and I have two siblings, 8 and 10 years older than I am, both of which were handicapped. So my sister was severely handicapped. She has cerebral palsy.
Oh, yeah.
And what's interesting about this story is that my parents, although she was born premature and only, I don't know, 3.5 pounds.
Ooh, yeah.
Think about this.
Yeah, yeah.
She's 70 years old now. It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
They didn't know that she had cerebral palsy until my mother was pregnant with my brother.
Oh, wow.
Right. So my brother's born, they're 2 years apart, and just as my sister, who's turning 4 years old, is about to undergo a series of operations that's going to last 10 years to see if she can ever walk, my brother contracts polio.
Oh, wow.
So my mother tells the story of walking into the bedroom and watching her son dragging his body across the floor and having no idea what's going on.
Right.
Called a doctor in those days. They came to the house.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, he told my mother, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but he's got polio. So now my parents have a crippled cerebral palsy child and a crippled polio child. So what I say is, how was I ever born? And I mean that. And as I've said on my videotapes, I was not an accident. My mother had the fortitude and the persistence to bring me here. And you know, just as what you've said about your birth, that's guided me. I never take that for granted. And I feel an obligation. I feel a commitment to give to.
Well, I feel the same way because I need to. It gets me emotional because it's like I need to give and help people.
Yeah.
Get to that spot, that miracle spot that we all have inside.
You're getting me emotional. We're both going to sit here and cry. All right.
Because life is too precious.
It is.
You know, and we all have our gift to give.
Right. And we forget. We forget.
Yeah, that's why you gotta close out all that garbage.
And when I say we forget, look, I don't care what orientation you are, you know, whether it's Buddhism or
we're all one.
Catholic or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. But this idea of awakening, it's because we forget. We forget what a miracle this is.
I know.
And the more we can embrace it.
That's why we have to keep being reminded. I mean, that's
constantly.
Why on my show I always say my beginning and my end, because we have to be reminded, because we're stubborn human beings. In fact, that's my next book. Seriously. I've already started about talking about our stubbornness.
What are you going to call it? The stubborn human being. I love it.
No, really. We're too, you know, so I'm trying to get more educated in, you know, the neuroscience
well,
of it.
I'll tell you, we're stubborn, but the reality is we're fear-based.
Yeah, well,
that's where stubbornness comes from.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's interesting. I've been a psychologist for a long time. I have a private practice. I've worked with lots of people. I, first of all, believe we're tribal in nature. You know, I've often said, I'll ask you, so what's the difference between a lion and a tiger? I love asking people this question. I got you right on the spot. The stripes, that's what everybody says.
I mean, yeah, but a lion and a tiger, they're actually different, a little bit different temperaments.
They're completely different.
And yes, and they don't breathe the same way as well. I mean, it depends how educated you are about each animal.
Tigers are solitary beings. What does that mean? They live alone.
Yeah.
A male tiger, if he encounters a male offspring, we're talking about his son.
Right. He'll eat him.
He'll kill him.
Yeah.
Lions, they're very social animals.
Yeah, definitely.
They live in prides. They have a very sophisticated social network. So when people ask me, they say, what's the problem? I say, well, there's too many people out there in the world that are living tiger lives that are meant to be living lion lives.
The elephants. We must not forget the elephants, because I just, we have a Martin Perlmutter is in our CMCM base here, and he is pro elephants. And there was a wonderful, this is why I love Facebook, because I've seen more wonderful videos with animals and with people and humor and everything. And there was one, and it made me cry actually, because there was an older elephant, and the mother had died, and this other elephant came, and they were both crying. Right. And you could see it, and I was like, wow, I mean, that's the humanity.
The story.
Animality, whatever you want to call it, but that's humanity.
The story of the elephant group that came and traveled 1,000 miles because the person who founded the reservation that they were living on died, and they knew it, and they came.
And they talked for miles.
Well, you know what? I have a chapter in this book, by the way, called the Gumbo Effect. Talk about elephants. Yes. Right. Now there's a story for you. That's for sure. You want to talk about something interesting, Dumbo, this beloved, and I loved it, one of my all-time favorite Disney classics, Dumbo. But if you look at what Dumbo is about, if you look at the humiliation, if you look at the racism, by the way, and the discrimination, I won't go through the whole story, but I love.
But read it anyway.
It's a great chapter, the Dumbo Effect. So you talk about elephants. So in mindful psychology, we try to incorporate all of that. We try to incorporate spirituality. In graduate school, I was told the two things you can't talk about. Talk about politics, don't talk about religion. It's like, give me a break. You know what?
Spirituality is not religion.
That's number one, is spirituality is not religion.
Yeah.
How could you not really explore what a person's orientation to spirituality is about?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter if you're agnostic or atheist, it's irrelevant. What's relevant is the nature of the relationship that somebody maintains with that.
And that higher frequency that is beyond the physical.
Well, let's talk about consciousness. Where does that come from?
Exactly. Hello, and they still can't explain.
Nobody knows where it comes from.
But I say it still comes from the higher self, the higher being, God, spirit, universe,
call
whatever.
It what you want.
Whatever you want to call it.
I like to think about it as if we're one large human antenna.
Antenna.
That's right.
I haven't heard that
we're
one
just
before.
pulling in that consciousness, no different than your TV set is pulling in those images.
And every one of us is open to what we are to be open to.
That's right.
Again, that's where that gift comes through to us, when you're open to that spiritual being that you are and that I am and that my crew, my wonderful dream team.
All right, dream team.
We all have that.
Right.
Every one of us is a miracle.
I like when you talk about openness, because I like to think about it. Look, either you're going to live in love or you're going to live in fear. Either you're going to live in an expansive environment emotionally, or you're going to live in a contracting environment emotionally. And you can change your life. Thinking about these kinds, absolutely.
One thought can change
you
your
can
life.
walk around right after this interview, right after you watch this, and you can say to yourself, was this a contracting experience I just had, or was this an expansive experience I just had? And of course, expansive means that it involves love. and connection and positivity. And contraction is about anger and fear. You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel, simply hold your fist like this and yell no and see how it feels.
Yeah. And I, when
This is opening.
I got involved 25 plus years ago with a church, I won't name it, but, and the mindfulness that I got, that's when I learned. I remember walking through my house and I was started to think a negative thought and I screamed out, "Stop!"
Right.
Because I stopped myself right then. Became my habitual thing, is because it takes the mental awareness and discipline, commitment, as you say, to change that. And you can. Anybody can do it. Anybody, everybody can do it.
I talk about stop in the book. S, stop. T, take a breath.
Yeah.
O, just observe what's going on. And then P, proceed.
Yeah.
We have to get out of automatic pilot.
Yes.
We can't simply be reactive beings. Step back.
Yes.
Take a breath before you react.
Absolutely.
Change your perspective about what's happening.
And also, we know with fear, really my experience is the only way, be aware of the fear, but you got to walk through it.
You do.
You've got to, you mentally need to walk through it. And then you can go, and I know for me this is why I'm doing what I'm doing with money. I've had issues, and yet I walked through it. I had 4 levels of fear that I had to get through to get to where I'm going.
Yeah, that's great.
And I got through it.
Right.
So, thank you, higher power, thank you, God, whatever, but I did it.
The first chapter of the book talks about what I call the catch. And I would just like to spend a minute because it's exactly what you're talking about. So it's interesting, this miracle we have, right?
Yes.
So you look in the Bible, you look at Genesis, and God created humankind on the 6th day and said, you're the best I have. You are the greatest creation. Go out, have dominion over all the fish in the sea, the entire planet. Have a great time. But there's a catch. You don't really read this in the Bible. And the catch is it can end at any moment.
Yeah.
Any given moment. But don't worry about that. Have a great time anyhow. And that's what we live with. We live with this deep-seated fear that at any given moment it can be over. And it completely influences how we are in the world. Now, if you go into a mindfulness place, you recognize that everything is impermanent. There's no such thing as permanent.
But,
this doesn't exist.
One thing that I do want to embrace with what you're saying is that you've got to feel it from your heart.
No, absolutely. You have to know it.
You've got to know it from your heart, not only from your mind, but your heart, that connection. That's what that spiritual connection is. Because if, and there again, there's a little bit of a difference between the male-female thing. But men need to feel it. You need to feel it. Women need to feel it, because we're made that little differently. Not that different, really,
No, we all have to feel it.
But we have to feel it and know it.
I mean, I think you asked me about psychology. I mean, frankly, I feel like I've been blessed because since my earliest memories, I always believed we're pure energy. That's it. We will always be. We have always been.
Yeah. And
there's death of the body, but that's it.
What a gift you had in your family.
You should come over to my house for dinner and then tell me what a gift I had.
I'm serious. But what is gift it's given you to be able to expand yourself with having, I'm sure it wasn't easy. I know it wasn't easy.
There was the Woody Allen scene in whatever his most famous movie.
God.
What was the name of that movie he made? It was great. That was it, everybody. But no, you're absolutely right.
I mean, so.
Right.
And being, to me, the most important thing is just being grateful.
Absolutely.
Being grateful for this moment, being grateful for what you have, and especially when it comes to money. Be grateful for what you have.
Gratitude.
Because if you're not going to be grateful for what you have now, even if it's a penny or 6 cents or $10, how are you really going to be able to handle $10 million?
Can I give the viewers one simple
Please,
little,
because our time is running out.
one simple little thing they can do?
Oh, please. I was going to ask you, but you had, yeah.
Every morning when you wake up, simply say, today I'm going to pick one thing, just one thing that I'm grateful for. And every night when you go to bed, just say, I'm grateful for X. I don't care if it's for that first cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And it will change your life if you do
Absolutely.
that every day.
Every day.
Simple thing to do.
It's integrating it with your habits that you do every just like sleeping.
Just like brushing your teeth.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Absolutely.
Make
But
a commitment.
thank you, yes, and thank you for making that commitment of saying that, because it's so important. The most important thing for us human beings, as a mental human being, emotional. Thank you, Neil.
No, this was great.
Thank you so much.
I want everybody to check out my website, Academy of Mindful Psychology, because there's a lot of information.
Oh, I'm sure.
I post regularly there, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, no,
So,
we'll get all your information.
That's my plug. That's it.
But we'll get all your information.
Cheryl,
on
this has
the
been a
credit.
delight. It's gone by so quickly.
Oh my God.
So thank you so much. And just keep doing what you're doing, because the world needs it.
I know. And I get goosebumps, and I realize that I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not doing this alone. I'm just looking forward to what's expanding, what's coming about.
You're the channel. Just channel it in.
I know. It's very exciting, and I'm excited for you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bless
Thank
you
you.
for being here
Oh, bless you for
and
having
sharing
me.
all your wonderful information. I'll leave you with this. Never give up wherever you are and what you're doing in your life. Work with integrity and have a positive attitude, first and foremost with your family and friends. First, be aware and conscious of your thoughts, and catch yourself before they come out of your mouth, especially the negative thoughts. It takes mental discipline. Be grateful for whose you are and where you have come from and what you have, and be grateful for your freedom. And eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple. Don't forget to exercise. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. Thank God. With unconditional love, love yourself unconditionally. Stop criticizing, stop judging, and allowing others to dominate the way you feel, and think about yourself. Be compassionate and share your abundance and wealth with others. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Eric, Brad, Jack, and Mary. Thank you. Please support and become a member of Marin TV. Bye for now. Until next time.